Hi all, hope you're all well. Stephen from Alcohol Free Lifestyle. I'm going to talk a little bit today about relapse because I think, well, from my experience and watching other people and stories I've heard, relapse is more or less inevitable if you're trying to get sober. If you're trying to get sober for life, because if you've been a heavy drinker, it's part of your life, isn't it? Drinking. And it's not that easy to just stop and never start again. You do feel much better when you stop. There's lots and lots of benefits. I talk about the benefits all the time. It's getting past that first couple of years. And when you first stop drinking, you think, well, I can't even get past the first couple of days if you're a heavy drinker, because you're in that such a habit of going to the pub. And what happens is you'll get certain triggers. You'll get maybe a bit of a craving, or you'll go somewhere where you meet somebody who you used to drink with and say, have a pint, you're trying to avoid it and all this sort of thing. But to be honest with you, relapsing is the worst thing you can do, because I was under the false impression that if you stop for a while, then things would repair and everything would be fine. Now, I first stopped drinking in my mid-30s, had a year or so off, and then I relapsed again, went back on it, got off again, did the same in my early 40s again. That happened a few times. Had a little bit of time off and then relapsed for various reasons. Nothing really to do with stress or anything. I just thought, well, I can control this now. I'll have a drink. Then you have a drink, and then you think, oh, but I'm not having any more for another week or so. Then you have another one next week, and then you have 2 pints, and you might think, oh, I'll have 3 now. It wasn't a case of going to the pub and having 7 or 8 pints suddenly. It sort of builds up. And with me, it used to take a process, maybe it would take about 6 to 8 weeks until I was drinking heavily again. And then 6 months down the line, I'd be back to square one, completely back hooked on it. Because I think initially, oh, I'll be fine, I'll control it, but it will control you, that's the problem. So I stopped drinking for a period of 8 years. What I'm going to talk about here is you've got to be upfront with people. I hadn't drank for 8 years. When you don't drink, everybody will say, why don't you drink? And you've got to explain yourself, which is crazy. You wouldn't mention it with drugs. They say, oh, that's good, you're giving up drugs. Why don't you drink? I don't like it. I want to keep myself fit. I'm driving. You make all these excuses up. Now, that's exactly what I did for years. I didn't want to admit that I was an alcoholic. It's not the sort of thing you shout about, is it? Well, I've got a drink problem, that's why I don't drink. So after 3 or 4 relapses, I thought, well, I'll give it a go, really give it a go and get off. And I managed to get off for 8 years, feeling really good. Best I've ever been, really. And I was retired by then. I was doing right financially. I was at the gym most days, a few holidays, all this sort of thing. Life was pretty good, really. But I was single, mainly single. Anyway, I met a new woman, as it were, in 2014. I didn't want to tell her that I had an alcohol issue. What happened was, over a period of time, you get to more social events and you don't drink. And I always drove. So we ended up going to her sister's house, at a big house, 8-bedroom thing. Fancy drink. We were all drinkers. But most people aren't they? Social thing. Watch a bit of football, have a meal, whatever it is, you go and have a drink. No, I'm fine, I'm going to drive. I'm fine, I'm going to drive. That was the whole evening, you know. Why don't you drink? Well, I had to keep myself fit. Well, why not just have one? Have one, just have one. No, thank you. I don't want. I was scared to drink, to be honest. Really, was worried in case if I drank, I'd get back on it. Now, they said, well, you don't have to drive tonight because we've got an 8-bedroom house. Just stay. I thought, oh, fair enough. Oh, have one, have one. So I thought, well, I'll just have one then. It's after 8 years. This is how bad it is. 8 years sober, one drink. Okay. Now, that was 2014, around about June, July time. Had the one can, that was it. A few weeks later, why didn't you have just one again? Oh, okay, I'll have another one. Anyway, I ended up going around Europe in a camper van. It took a few days to get there. I didn't drink at all during the time of the journey. And I got to the south of France, Saint-Tropez. It was a beautiful place, very expensive, man. However, part of this camper van, I was sick of driving by then. I thought, oh God, I'm sick of this. So I thought, well, I'll just have one drink. Then I might have had a few by then, over the period of 6 to 8 weeks. So during this holiday period of a few weeks, I had a few more, and a few more. I wasn't driving for a few days. I went to drive again, moved on somewhere else, went to Northern Italy, I think it was. And I didn't drink, obviously, when I was driving. But when we got part this camper van thing up, I thought, oh, I feel a bit knackered now, a bit stressed. I'll have a drink. And that sort of built up over this holiday period of a couple of months. I got back to the UK, and I was starting to feel a bit groggy like I had in the past when I had these relapses. So I thought, well, I'll go back to the doctor. It's September, I think, October, and I'll say, look, tell the truth, I've relapsed. Could you please give me some diazepam? Because that's the only thing that worked with me to get me off the drink. Anyway, he said, oh, I can't give you any now because you may get addicted. And I said, well, how are you going to get addicted? Because I've been sober for 8 years. I haven't been to the doctor other than for the well-man check every year. I've never requested any medication. But the only thing that helped me. Anyway, he refused to give me it. So I panicked a bit then. Oh, if I've got nothing, I'm going to get in a mess here. It was 2014. The winter off, about December. Now, I requested to see another doctor. Same thing. Sent me to see self-help groups with no good. Couldn't get this diazepam anywhere. Thought I'm going to be in a mess, tried to get it on private prescription, couldn't get it. I knew it was the only thing that would get me off. So I thought, well, the only thing I can do is just self-medicate without alcohol and try and taper off a bit. Well, in my case, I can't taper off. I did try a couple of times, have 6 drinks, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all this sort of thing. But by the time I got to 1, I think, oh, I feel really good now. I might have another 2 pints to go to the pub again. It starts again. I had to have this medication to get me off and start afresh, if that makes sense. Couldn't get any of that. Eventually I got some off the internet, which was a bad decision because it may or not have been the right thing to do. But I didn't stop drinking because with diazepam you shouldn't be drinking. You only take it for a few days, 5 to 7 days treatment. So I got this diazepam off the internet and I was drinking as well. Made matters worse, really, to be honest. Anyway, fast forward that a bit. 2018 I was feeling really unwell, started to get this swelling in my stomach, all this sort of carry on. 2019 I was hospitalised with lots and lots of issues, which I've covered in the other videos. If you want to have a look at them, about liver problems and blood problems and this ascites fluid and all this sort of thing. Anyway, I've come through all of that. There's a lot of videos on this. And I'm fine now. My message is, if you do relapse, you've got to stop as soon as you can. But to prevent relapse is really what I'm talking about. To prevent it, you've got to be upfront with people. You've got to say to people, right? And it's not easy, even at my age and the way I am now. I've been off the drink for 5 years and I'm doing these programs and all that on this channel and things. And I'm quite upfront about my life. Even I say, look, I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink. That's it. And they still get a shock. Oh God, you're an alcoholic. There's still this stigma to it. But unless you tell people, then you could end up in a mess like I did. So keep away from places maybe you used to go to. Regular drinkers will try. They will try and get you to drink again. I promise you. Because I don't want to see you progressing, some people. Because when you're off the drink, your life will change dramatically. You'll have a lot more money. I'm going to go do another video about the finances soon. You'll have more time. You'll have more energy. You'll look better. You'll have a better life, basically, when you're sober. So keep away from places you used to go. Try, and when you feel a bit stressed, because when you're sober, everything doesn't go rosy and beautiful. You still get problems, but you can deal with them better. You have more mental clarity. Everything will be easier when you're sober. And people say they get bored. You've got to fill your time in as well. You must do something else. Join a gym, go for a walk. If you're not fit enough to do that, do something else. Read a book. The thing that saved me, and a lot of people would disagree with this, is sort of zero or non-alcoholic beers. Because I like a long drink, not a spirit drink, anything like that. So I like a long drink. You get all sorts of beers that are 0% now. That's what I use. Now, some people say that might trigger you off. It didn't with me. It didn't for the 8 years past, and it hasn't for the last 5 years. That's another thing to look at. So keep away from triggers. 0% is good. Get yourself some more hobbies. Get fit. Concentrate on eating well. Maybe take up a cookery course. Or do something different. Start looking after yourself, because alcohol will control you, it'll destroy you, and it'll take your life 20 years probably earlier than the general population. I've also got an ebook out, I'll put the link in the video description, which will help you stay sober. If you enjoy the channel or you need any more help with it, subscribe and comment. Drop me a line if you want me to cover anything specific, because there's so much I could talk about here. After 40 years of drinking, I've got a lot of experience of the highs and lows, mainly the lows, because alcohol, in my opinion, has no benefits. It just destroys lives. And I'll speak to you all soon.